This is Wrestling Hall of Famer, Mr. Wonderful. I am about to do a career interview with Hannibal TV. I want the fans out there to watch it because it's going to be good.
This is Hannibal from thehannibaltv.com, and I'm with three-time WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff, here in the shadow of Niagara Falls. How are you doing today, sir?
Well, I feel pretty good, and I'm glad I'm here. I love the water. Look at it. I mean, and look at the bird right there, too. That's cool, man.
We have an audience outside of Pigeons, and also Mr. Brian Blair, WWE legend and president of the Cauliflower Alley Club, your longtime friend, is also in the room. But I wanted to start this off just asking you what your childhood was like growing up.
My childhood? How in the heck would I know what my childhood was if I was a little kid? I'm joking. I think it was probably pretty tough. It wasn't early, it was tough that I can remember. Yes. I remember when I was a little older, things were pretty tough. And, but I'm making, I've got past all that, and now I'm working. I got a lawsuit and everything that's coming up pretty quick. It's going to be good, a lot, and I'll be happy then. You know what I mean.
And you had quite a football career. You were known as a great high school player in Tampa, and you went on. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your football career?
Yeah, I love football. I did, and I was drafted by the New Orleans Saints too, and I ended up going back to wrestling. I just ended up liking wrestling a little better than football.
Right.
And I'm glad I did.
And in those days, there was probably more money in wrestling than football, probably overall.
I think there was, but I didn't do it for that. I just liked it better, and I figured I could last longer if I was into wrestling. And I did. I was drafted by the New Orleans Saints too.
Very impressive. And I understand you were trained by Hiro Matsuda.
Yep.
Do you have any memories of training with him? I heard it was pretty hard.
He was tough. And if you got past him and you made it with him, you're gonna make it. And I did. And I enjoyed it a lot. I really did. He was a good guy.
I understand that before you started training with him, he made you shoot with Bob Backlund and Gerald Briscoe. And
Tito Santana. All those guys were all... I personally think wrestling back in our day and everything was... It was tough.
Right.
And it was more real. I mean, I busted my head open and everything else open because that's just the way I was. And I enjoyed it. I loved wrestling more so than anything else.
And your first territory, I guess you were working for Eddie Graham in Florida Championship Wrestling?
Yeah, Eddie Graham, I sure did. And of course, wrestling was tough back then. It was tough, man. I got in fights. I don't mind telling you, I got in with some fights with
other wrestlers or with fans?
Yeah, real fights. And I don't know, I just took it to another level, and I did.
Do you remember Dusty Rhodes at all?
Yeah, I remember Dusty. Yeah, he was a good guy too. He was a good wrestler. He was real good. You know?
Very popular in Florida.
Yeah.
Showbiz, entertaining. Different
Yeah.
style, showbiz style.
You know, I got my Hall of Fame right here
Yeah.
with wrestling. And I loved it. I did. I really did. I liked it better than anything else I'd done.
Do you remember when you wrestled the Memphis territory with Jerry Jarrett?
I remember Jerry Jarrett. You know, wrestling back in our days, it was more real than it is now.
That's true.
It was a lot more real. I mean, I got cuts and every damn thing up from my head because of the wrestling.
Right.
And when I did, I kept doing it. I was bleeding. If I was bleeding everything, I saw, you know, that's the way it is.
Do you remember going to Mid-South Wrestling and working for Bill Watts?
Yes. Yeah, he was good to work with. Bill was. You know, everybody, no matter where you go, things happen that you don't like, but you still have to do that. And I said to myself, I'm going to start doing that. If I don't like to do something, then just because I don't like it don't mean it ain't right.
And Watts used to push you.
And it was right. You know, it was.
You should say Bill Watts used to be a hard ass, but he was good.
I've had a lot of them that way. They were Bill Watts, but there was a bunch of them.
Do you remember your matches with the Junkyard Dog in
Yep.
that territory?
Yeah, I did, and I enjoyed it. Of course, we went at it. You know, when we did it, we threw punches. Boom! The people liked it. The men liked it, and whether you did the right thing or the wrong thing, they still like what you did.
Right.
Oh.
Were you ever attacked by any fans when you were in
Oh
Mid-South?
yeah. Oh, I used to get in and with some of them. Heck, I did. Yeah, I did, and that's for real. And you know, of course, I said to myself, whatever I do, you know, the fans are gonna change their hearts. You know, they're gonna go to it. They're gonna go for you, and they did.
When did you start doing Mr. Wonderful? Because I guess you were just Paul Orndorff at first when you started.
Yeah, I don't know how long it was, but it got in there pretty good. You know, for a long time. You know, I stayed in there, and when I did that, the people, some of them liked it, and some of them didn't like it. And it didn't matter to me. But, you know, the more people didn't like what I'd done, the more I liked it.
Do you remember teaming up with Jimmy Snuka for the Crockett's?
Yeah, I did. We had some good matches, you know, together on them. They were tough too. They were tough. You know, back in our days, they were a little bit tougher than it is now. I can tell you that. It was more. And, you know, but most of the time, what we did made it look real. And it was pretty real. It really was. I hit the turnbuckles and hit the steel part of the thing, and I got cuts on my neck where I hit it. I hit it in blood all over me. If people don't believe that, that's their problem. But I did.
Yeah. That was called Hard Way, right?
That's exactly.
Now, do you remember wrestling for the Fullers, Ron Fuller?
Yeah.
Rob Fuller?
Yeah.
Did you like that territory?
Yeah, it was good. I handled it. And I broke my neck a time or two. My arm is pretty bad, but it's, I can't, that's as far as I can do it.
Right.
And I did that in wrestling.
Who was the one that did that? Because I understand that was off of a move that went wrong. I guess that was in later years.
I don't. You want to know the truth? I honestly, if I knew, I'd tell you.
Right.
But I don't really know because it was bothering me even before then.
Okay.
And when when it happened, it was bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you were partners with Baron von Raschke for a while. How did you like that? Because that's kind of a different character than you.
I liked him. He did a good job. Most of those guys back then, there was a few people that I didn't care for, but I still had good matches with them. I'd do my best. If they did something wrong, they're gonna pay.
Right. How were your matches with Ric Flair? I understand you fought him for the title a few times.
Yeah. Rick was good. He was a good wrestler. He worked hard, and I enjoyed it. And he worked hard.
Right. What do you think today? There's men against women, and matches like that happen. Are you a supporter of that?
What do you think?
I would assume that you're not, because it's not really real.
I don't really watch it.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Not that I don't want to. I do watch it sometimes, but it just ain't the way it used to be.
Right.
Now they do stuff that is pretty good, but I change it. I change it. I don't watch it that much anymore.
When you wrestled Ric Flair, did you ever do an hour-long Broadway with him?
I think so. Yeah, we had some. And let me tell you, you go an hour Broadway, that is a long time.
Yeah.
And we had them. I had more than one, more than two, more than a dozen. And those people, you got to build it up. When you're that late, man. I believed in making it look real.
Yeah.
As real as you could. And I really did. It didn't help my brain any, but it worked. And I believe in being half real, or a little more than real, but some wanted to do something to me.
Right. Did you get along with Tony Atlas outside of the ring? Was he one of your friends? Or?
Tony Atlas?
Yeah.
Tony was okay. Yeah. I mean, most of the guys that I worked with were good, whether I went against them or for them. And I watched, and I used to watch just about every match before my match to see what people do and what to pay the fans and see what they liked and didn't like. And it worked out pretty good.
Do you remember wrestling Buzz Sawyer?
Yeah.
He was another guy.
Yeah, Buzz was good. Buzz Sawyer was a good guy. He was good. Back in our days, they were pretty darn good. The whole deal was good. You know what I mean? I mean, they made it. See, I believed to make it look as real as you could. And I ain't saying that's right or wrong, but I made it look as real as I could. And throwing punches and putting holes in all these different holes that I knew and everything. I could use it.
And you wrestled for New Japan Pro Wrestling. What was that like compared to the U.S. when you were wrestling in Japan?
New Japan, you know, they were a lot harder, but they didn't bother me none.
Right.
I gave it right back to him. Somebody hit accidentally, you know, hard, I'll let it go, but if he does 2 or 3 of them, it's a no-no. I mean, some of them will hurt you. and the way we did it back then, it looked pretty dead gum real. It was.
Yeah. Now, who brought you into WWE? Was that Vince McMahon Sr. when he gave you the call?
Yeah, he gave me he did, and I liked him. Is he still around?
Senior is dead, but Junior is still alive.
Yeah, he was he did me pretty good, you know. And you gotta real that wrestling. The more real you can make it be, the more the people would get with it, and the people would get with it pretty good.
And when you wrestled Hulk Hogan in WWE, those were some of the biggest gigs they ever had.
Yeah.
What was so special about that feud that you had?
Oh, well, it was, they believed him and they believed me. And, of course, you know, I got hurt some, and of course I did stuff that probably wasn't right. You know, some of the things I did was wrong, but that's just wrestling. That's the way it is.
Do you remember your WrestleMania 1 match with you and Piper and Orton against Hogan and Mr. T with Snuka in their corner?
I think it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, it was probably real good.
Did you like wrestling as a bad guy better than a babyface?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did. Because it was being a bad guy, you could do pretty much whatever you wanted to do. And you know that the way some of them was, you know, they tried to stop me and, you know, and hurt me or this or that. And when that happened, I didn't like that at all. Right. You know, I didn't. I really didn't.
Did you ever hang out with Andre the Giant in the back?
I'm sure I did. Yeah, I mean, we were all together, and Andre was good. You know, back in those days, all the wrestlers was pretty darn good. And I think we drew the biggest crowd ever.
Yeah, you and Hulk Hogan drew the biggest crowd ever at that point, I think, in Toronto.
Yeah.
For that outdoor stadium.
Yeah, and boy, I tell you, that was tough.
You teamed up with Bruno Sammartino too.
Yeah.
He had passed away recently, unfortunately.
Yeah, he was good. He was a good wrestler. And most all the wrestlers were good people.
Right.
They really were. And even though we'd go after each other, that's just the way it was. And the fans, you know, the people liked it. So we did it whatever it took to make those fans be happy.
Who is one of the toughest wrestlers you ever fought that you consider a tough guy in real life?
All of them were pretty tough. Tito was okay, and Brian Beeper Blair was, you know, at the time was good.
Yeah.
And Rick Rude, you know.
Rick Rude, you had some great matches with him over the years. Did you like his gimmick that he had with the kissing of the girls?
Yeah, it was more entertainment, sort of, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it worked pretty darn good.
And I understand when you got injured in WWE, you kept wrestling for a while after, and that made the injury worse.
Yeah, I did. I should have went sooner,
Yeah.
but I didn't. That was just my mentality that I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And I thought it would get better, and it didn't get better. It didn't. And finally, I did go to the doctor.
Is that why you left WWE, because of the medical?
Yeah, I was
problems?
pretty much, yeah. Because, see, I hurt my arm right now. This arm,
Yeah.
it just hangs there. And it was due to wrestling.
How did you keep it looking in pretty good shapes? I knew it was smaller, but it was still much better than your average person's arm.
Well, my mentality in the wrestling was different. And
You always worked out.
I believe that going to the gym, and
Yeah.
that's what it is.
And you opened up a bowling alley, I guess, after WWE. Is that because you liked bowling and you thought it would be a fun business to do?
Well, the people that wanted me to get in it and do it, I kind of did it, did a little bit of it. It was all
a
right.
business decision with Shelton Thorne, a guy that turned out to be a crook.
Okay.
But Paul ran a good bowling alley.
Oh, yeah.
Paul, do you
like
remember what
bowling.
the Sheik used to do? Didn't the Sheik used to come to your bowling alley and work out in the parking lot?
When you came to WCW, you worked with Sting and Lex Luger. Would you say they were
Yeah,
pretty good as well?
they did a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most all the wrestlers were good.
Right.
And you might get a few that would try to hurt you or do something. That was a no-no.
Do you remember wrestling The Undertaker in WCW before you became The Undertaker? I guess you beat him a couple of times. His name was Mean Mark back then.
Yeah,
It all runs together for you. You've had so many.
yeah, it did.
And you were part of the UWF for a while that Brian Blair was also in. Do you remember wrestling for Herb Abrams for
Yeah.
UWF?
Yeah, Brian Blair, they were all good.
And Jim Cornette had a wrestling company for a while too, and you wrestled for him. Do you remember Jim Cornette as a promoter working for him?
Yeah, he was good. He was a good guy too. Most of the promoters were good.
Right.
Most of them.
Yeah.
Now there was some that weren't, that, well, they wanted to take advantage of you, and I didn't go for that too much.
What were your workouts like in the gym? Did you do a lot of weights, I guess?
Yes, I did. I did a lot of weights. I lived in the gym.
Did you have any special diet because you always had your abdominal muscles?
No.
You just
No,
worked out.
I ate good. I went to the gym practically 4 to 5 days a week.
Right.
I did all that, sometimes 6 or 7, and I loved it. I could have played in the NFL. I was drafted by the New Orleans Saints, and I could have went with them. But I got into wrestling, and I think that I could last longer in the wrestling,
Right.
and I did.
And I guess for the tanning, you always had the duck tan. Did you have to use tanning beds for that, or was that just being outside in the sun, your natural?
Just outside in the sun, pretty much. I might have tried something, that didn't work to me. But I usually, if it was a nice day out in there, I'd get out there like now. Now it's a nice day. You could get some sun of it.
Did you design your own robes, or was there someone special that made your robes for you?
Mr. Wrestling 2's wife.
Olivia Walker.
Johnny
Yeah.
Walker's wife. Mr. Wrestling 2.
The better you looked, the shorter your trunks, and it made a difference. And I did that.
I guess those probably cost a couple $1,000. Some of those robes, I guess they're pretty expensive. Or
You mean the pants and everything?
and the robe, the
Oh,
flash
the robe.
robes,
Yeah. Yeah, I still got a couple
Oh wow.
robes somewhere, I think. Pretty sure I do.
How did you like being an agent for WCW when they had you working as a backstage agent?
I liked it.
Do you remember that time that you had the fight with Vader in WCW?
Leon White, Big Van.
Do I remember? Not really. I'm sure I did. I know I did.
Yeah.
But I didn't bother me. No, it was just, at the time, it was, it's part of it.
Right.
Some of it could turn real and some of it could turn not as real.
I guess in that situation, you were the agent, you were asking him to do some type of tapings, and then he got argumentative with you, and you guys had a fight or something backstage in Atlanta.
I don't remember that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm being honest with you. If
Yeah.
I knew, I would, but I can't. I got in more fights and, I got into them.
Yeah. What's your advice for fighting for people watching this that might be boxers or MMA fighters or any type of fighters? Do you have any fighting advice? Because obviously you won a good share of your fights.
I think Paul Orndorff would say to that question, every part of your body is a weapon.
Every part of your body is a weapon. Yeah, because you've seen that.
Yes, because that's what Paul would do. He would fight and use every part of his body as a weapon. Whether you have to fight him, poke him in the eye, or kick him in the balls.
Now, if somebody did something that hurt me, I would tell them in the ring, I said, hey, stop kicking me in the wherever.
Yeah.
And if they did it again, I'd change it. And I knew how to wrestle. I knew.
Now, there was a guy named Terry Orndorff. Was that your real brother?
Yeah.
Or just your wrestling guy?
Yeah.
Your real brother decided to get into wrestling?
Yeah. Terry did. He sure did.
How did you like working at the power plant as a trainer for WCW, training the young
Good.
guys?
It was good. Yeah, it was real good.
Well, do you remember being one of Goldberg's trainers when Goldberg was in the power plant? He was one of the most famous power plant.
Yeah. Goldberg. He was good.
Yeah.
We had a lot of guys that were good back then.
Bob Sapp, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Rick Rude.
Yeah.
All of them. Yeah. They were good.
And Jody Hamilton was
Yeah.
working there with you.
Yeah. Yeah, most of those guys, you gotta, if you had a mentality and you had some of the other wrestlers and what they were doing was a joke,
Yeah.
I didn't buy it.
Did you like being tag team partners with Paul Roma?
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I liked all of it except some of the guys that were, needed help.
What about your WWE Hall of Fame induction?
Well, I'm very proud of that. I'm Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame and WWE, Hall of Fame. Yes, I'm proud of it. And not everybody has all these rings that I got nowadays. It just doesn't.
And how is your health doing these days? You were telling us about your neck injury and your arm injury.
It's pretty bad. I mean, it's basically I got one arm. I can't even, I can lift this arm up, my left one, but this is as far as I can go. I can't even lift it up.
I see.
So, and that's due to wrestling.
And you had cancer at one point, and you
Yep.
beat cancer, I understand?
Yep, I did. I had cancer, and it was bad, and boy, I had to take that radiation, all that stuff I had to take, and it worked. You know, and then my neck, you know, I broke my neck 2 or 3 times,
Yeah.
and I couldn't do stuff, a lot of stuff, and you know, it's just the way it is.
Are you still married?
Yes. My wife Rhonda, yes.
And how long has it been? I guess over almost 30 years, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's over 30 years.
Wow.
We're still married. And my wife is, you know, I'm still married to her.
Yeah.
At least I think I am.
Oh,
I'm joking.
well, congratulations.
Yes, I am.
Paul's been married since high school.
Wow.
Senior year in high school.
Yep,
To the same woman.
yep.
So you can count the years.
And you have kids? You've
I had 2 boys, Travis and Paul.
And you live in Georgia now?
Yes, Fayetteville, Georgia.
Do you still go hog hunting?
I haven't been much. I've killed some. I got them mounted and everything that I killed that weight. One of them weighed 364 pounds.
Wow.
Hog. And I got it, you know, I got the head of it and everything mounted. But I enjoyed it.
Is that your favorite type of hunting to do?
Yeah, I like to hunt. I like to hunt basically any kind of hunting or fishing. I like all that. I mean, to me, you know, I liked it. I do. I still like it.
Was there ever any wrestlers that you went hunting with? I know Steve Austin hunts. I know Rick Steiner. But
Yeah, there was some. I mean, can I remember all of them? No. But we had some guys that wanted to go hunting. You know, we went.
yeah.
And like I said, I got a hog that weighed 364 pounds. I killed it.
Yeah.
Shot it with a bow and arrow.
Do you fish too still?
Yeah. Every chance, you know.
Yeah.
Every chance I get, I do.
You have lakes near your house, I guess.
Oh, huh?
You have lakes near your house where you can do that.
Yeah.
Do you like meeting the fans now at these conventions?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do. You know, and most of them are good people. If some of them, you know, if they don't like it, then that's their problem.
Yeah.
You know.
When you were training with Hiro Masuda, what was the hardest part? Was it the cardio? Was it the amateur holds?
Wrestling Brian Blair, he could never stretch me out always.
Yeah. I thought there was that. I didn't really care that much. I mean, some of them we'd get in a fight now, so a real one.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, but you know, most other guys were really good.
I wish Paul could remember all the fights that just him and I were in via one time we were on a road and we were just driving to somewhere that I don't remember, but the road was wet and somebody came up behind us.
Yeah.
Somebody came up behind us and they were like being
Yeah.
like real aggressive, like
Yeah.
on my bumper, and it's
Very
slick
aggressive.
outside, very slick outside.
Yeah.
So there's a light and there's nobody around. It's dark. You know, we had been drinking a little bit. We always did on the road. You know, maybe a 6-pack or whatever. And I said, Paul, this guy's really on my back. And he said, well, just stop at this light. I said, no, let me just get away from him. He said, no, stop at the light. So I said, okay. So I stopped at the light, and here comes the guy. Stops, he gets out of his car, and he starts walking toward our car, my car. I'm driving. And it's starting to snow outside. I can see the snow. I can remember it's real slick, and we're stopped at this light. Still nobody's around. It's dark out. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, where's this guy's got a gun or something? I don't know what he's got. So I opened my door just about where it was open. And as he came up, he didn't realize my door was open. I had my car still running. And I rolled down the window, and he started saying something really nasty to us and very aggressive. I don't remember exactly what it was, and he had his hand in his pocket, and I took my door and went boom as hard as I could. It was slick, and he fell down, and because it was so slick, he just slid on the road and fell down and hit his face. Before I knew it, Paul was out of the car. Before I knew it, and he was putting the boots to the guy on the road, on this dark road, and so he put the boots to him really hard. And I said, Paul, we got to go. Now the guy's knocked out. I don't know what's going to happen to him. His car's in the back there. I don't know who he is. So Paul gets back in the car, and we took off, and that was it. I don't know what happened to him, but he was an animal. I mean, one time I told Paul to watch this guy, big guy, about 6'7", in the Shakey's Pizza Parlor in Little Rock, Arkansas, North Little Rock, Arkansas. And I like to play pinball, but they had pinball machines in there and good pizza, cheap pizza buffet. So this country guy walks in and he's looking at Paul, big guy, like I said, about 6'7", huge, bib overalls. And I said, Paul, I'll keep an eye on this guy because I think he might be messing with his girlfriend or something. I don't know. And Paul said, okay, thank you. So I go to play pinball, kind of forget about it, and a couple minutes later, I'm playing this game called Aces High, and I see something whiz past my face, and I ducked like this, and then I heard a loud noise. It sounded like almost like a shotgun hit a watermelon. This guy thought it was me, I guess, that was messing with his girlfriend. I don't know, not Paul. So he was getting ready to hit me, and Paul left hooked him and knocked him out, and he was laying on the floor of the Shakey's Pizza, and he didn't get up. So again, we had to split, because we don't know. I didn't know if Paul killed him or what, because he hit his head, this big old guy, and he won't wake up. We're all trying to shake him to get him up. So, Paul was a tough son of a gun. I mean, he had a left hook like him and Danny Spivey both, but I would put Paul against there's Haku, Spivey, the toughest guys in the business. If you put Paul Orndorff in his prime, it would be a fight that Vegas could not predict the odds. I couldn't predict the odds. I've seen them all fight, and Paul is absolutely one of the toughest guys I've ever seen fight in my life.
Wow. And what was your favorite territory to work in, Paul?
All of them. Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was big crowds and everything, I loved it.
Yeah.
But the better the crowd, the better. And back in our days, they were good.
Tony Atlas told us a story about, I guess you got in a fight with Tony Atlas at one time and you ended up biting him. Do you remember why you bit him? He had said because he thought that he had you in a cradle or something, and you bit his ear to get out of the cradle.
Yeah, well, it was an opening, and if he was doing something that was more real and everything, and more real and more real and more, I wouldn't take too many. Wherever I was at, there were some people I didn't like. I'll flat tell you that. I didn't like them because, well, they had attitude. And I could handle it. There ain't nobody I couldn't handle, if you want to know the truth. I handle it. We had fun. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And just to clear this up, because Tony Atlas might see this, we won't get into this.
I love Tony.
Because
I love Tony. Tony is a great guy. The story I told was the honest, true story. I mean, Tony might have saw it that way, and that's the way he sees it. But the real way, if you want to get the truth, ask Tommy Rich. I hope Tommy Rich can remember that. I don't see how he couldn't, but we were the only four there.
Well, I might actually see him this October at an event I'm going to in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So that'll be the missing key to the puzzle.
Yeah,
the four of you that were in the car. So.
Exactly, but to hear Tony, God bless you, Tony. I mean, I love you, but why would you put a cradle on somebody if you're shooting with them? I mean, hey, you don't put a cradle on somebody when you're shooting. That just doesn't work. You guys rolled around, and on the second, almost the third roll, Paul bit your ear, and you screamed. You cheated very loud. You cheated, Paul. You cheated. Paul spit your ear out. Tommy Rich grabbed your ear and was screaming. That's the story. We took you to the hospital. That's what happened. And again, Tony's a tough son of a gun. I certainly wouldn't want to fight him. And again, you're talking about a guy, as I mentioned before, that was afraid of no man on earth, no two men on earth. Actually, before he got into business, he got arrested in Florida for beating up several sheriffs, Hillsborough County sheriffs, several of them over his brother Terry.
Don't say that though.
He just did.
I know.
Okay, I remember, Paul, when we were working in Boston Garden, and they liked the heels for some reason, and you were such a heel, they would do Paula. When you'd always tell them you're number one, Mr. Wonderful, tell them to shut up and all that. But anyway, some guy, a wrestling fan, just got in my face like he was gonna bite my head off, and that was on the way to the ring. And the fan was electric that night. So Wonderful was in the ring already, and Dick Worley was in the ring. I got in the ring, and the crowd was electric. I mean, you've got 75. The Boston Garden probably had 20% heel fans. That's a large amount of heel fans. And Paul had a lot of heat, though, and Boston's such a rough town. We're getting the instructions from Dick Worley, and Paul's doing his thing. The crowd's going crazy as always when Paul got in the ring, and all of a sudden I see something whiz past Paul and Dick Worley really close, but at the same time I heard a boom like a shotgun sound, and what it was an elbow pipe that somebody threw from the seats from high up in the seats, and if that would have hit you, it would have killed you. If it would have hit Dick Worley, it would have killed Dick Worley.
Yeah,
but then I had you down in the armbar. I had you in an armbar, and you're selling, so nobody's hurt at this point. And boom, all of a sudden I look, something whizzes past my eye again, and as Paul's going like this, I see blood start squirting from his eye, and I see something roll, and it's a little miniature bottle, like, from the airplanes, one of those like vodka bottles, that clear bottle, I don't know if you remember, but it hits you right in the mouth. And
yes,
you went like this.
I do remember that.
It hit you right in the mouth, and you got up and you started beating the crap out of me. I said, Paul, I didn't throw the bottle, man. God dang it. I'm taking all these potatoes. I'm going, oh my gosh, I haven't been this potatoed since we were in the dungeon with Matsuda. And, but it was brutal. I mean, that was crazy. But those fans at the Boston Garden were...
What about Buffalo? We're right across the river. We're looking at Buffalo from this hotel room right now. Any memories of that town?
The only thing I remember about Buffalo was the day I flew in from Florida to Buffalo, and had been off for a month, and I forgot about the cold weather, so we pull into the parking lot at the auditorium, which for the wrestlers, which you had to walk quite a bit, and then you go up this big ramp in Buffalo, and so it's a long walk from where you park, and I had no coat, and my ears got frostbit. It took so long to get up the ramp. It's because you've got the wind blowing off the lake, and where the big ships are there, because it's like a port, and it was so cold that night. That's my biggest memory of Boston, is getting my ears frostbitten. They were literally my earlobes were frostbitten. Yeah. I mean, I had to go to the doctor. It kept peeling and everything. So that was cold. Cold place. But Buffalo was a great town to work in. Good live fans that really appreciated good wrestling, and that was nice. When I worked with Paul, we worked very, very hard. I don't care. You can watch any YouTube match anytime. We worked hard together. We worked like we were taught. Work or shoot. That's what we were always taught. Work or shoot. Work or shoot. Which means, to the casual fan, it means work like it's 100% real. wrestle like it's 100% real. And so then a lot of people would say it's wrestling. It says wrestling on the marquee. So we would incorporate that hard work and that hard ground and pound wrestling and chain wrestling into a high spot and coming back and telling a story where we always came back to the arm or whatever. But Paul could always get heat in an instant, and he could give you the greatest comeback. One of my favorite things about Paul as an athlete was to watch him in Junkyard Dog work, because JYD, we both love JYD, God bless him. Sylvester was a great friend, and it was tragic when he passed. I mean, that really killed me because I was close with JYD. We both loved the dog. Everybody loved the dog. But Paul was the best with dog because he was limited at what he could do. He was such a showman, but he was limited at what he could do. Even though he played pro football, his knees were shot, while he was out there. So Paul would just feed him, and boom, he'd put an arm out, there was a clothesline. He'd drop down, there was a backdrop. Sylvester could literally stand in the middle of the ring, and it would look like he was getting killing Paul, because every time Paul came at him, no matter what the dog would do, it was a bump and he was back up. He was constantly back, take the bump, sell the bump, back up. And Sylvester and you had just great matches, and I don't think anybody could get more out of the dog than you did. You guys just had a chemistry that was tremendous. Not to take away from what the free birds and the great angle that was, but because of your ability to wrestle as a heel, be a wrestling heel. And I'm not going to just say this because Paul's sitting next to me. I've evaluated people and been in the ring with people like Bob Orton Sr. from like the 60s while I was just breaking in, and Angelo Poffo, Randy Savage's dad, and Lanny Poffo's dad. These guys were having their last matches, and we were having matches with them in Florida and stuff. And so we got to work with all like the guys that were big stars in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and we got to see those guys on their way out, and then wrestle with all the guys, all the way through. Even, the guys that are making big money, from The Rock to Steve Austin. I mean, we've wrestled with them all and been around them all for somewhere, but to me, nobody was a better wrestling heel than Paul Orndorff. The greatest wrestling heel ever of all time in wrestling that I have ever had the opportunity to work with or know. And I'm not just saying this because he's here. Now, we had some great ribs, pulled some great ribs on each other. Funny ribs. I mean, tremendous ribs. He would try to rib me, and I would try to rib him back. I mean, we were together for so long on the road, we became so close.
Oh, we were like brothers.
Always just total brothers, and it didn't matter. I mean, there was a bathroom, we both had to pee, we'd play Crossfire. Just like little boys, do stupid little things like kids growing up. I mean, I'll never forget, we would heal a room. This is kind of nasty right here, so get ready.
I not want to say that.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna tell them anyway. We'd heal.
It's what you're known for.
I'm going for this right now, so I don't care. We would heal a room, and that means healing a room means you check in for one when you know there's 2 beds, so that you save $8. So I remember Paul told. I got to tell this first. I'll go back right to it. But Paul told the little guy, the Turk. The Turk told Paul. He said, one time in the locker room in Shreveport, he told you, hey Paul, I park in the same hotel you at the Days Inn, and I stay in my van. I don't spend the $38. I stay in my van. I save $38. And Paul said, that's pretty good, Turk. That's good. You could park at the Hilton and save $100. Turk went, whoa, that's a great idea. And he started parking at the Hilton thinking he was saving $100. But back to the Days Inn in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I had a sore knee, and Paul's usually grouchy, and Big John Studd named him Oscar the Grouch in Japan, because after 2 weeks he was grouchy on the bus. And Paul said, hey, my kids watch this show called The Muppets. And there's this character, a purple character named Oscar the Grouch, and neither one of us knew what John was talking about at the time. And so the name Oscar stuck with Paul because he would be a little grouchy. And this particular day, he was being Mr. not wonderful, but Mr. Nice Guy. And we're in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Again, he my knees hurt. He had gotten ice for my knee before we left the building. We're in this rent-a-car. Tells me to sit in the back seat. I was going to sit in the front. He goes, "Oh, why don't you sit in the back and stretch out?" I said, "Okay." So I was in the back stretching out. And he said, "Okay, Brian." As we stopped, he went and checked in, let me stay there with the ice that he got me. He's being really nice. So it's time to get out and take our bags up to the room. And he goes, "Come on, let me help you out." He opens the door for me. And as I go to get out, I take a step backwards, obviously, and my hurt knee is still dangling in the car as I got my right foot out in the back of this rent-a-car, and all of a sudden, boom, he goosed me. He hit me in the butt with his thumb so hard that my head went up and it hit the top of the car, the solid steel part of the door frame. And when my head hit that, just a goose egg swelled right up. And he thought that was so funny. He thought that was hilarious. And I'm cussing him out. I think, "I can't believe you did this to me." So we had some words back and forth, and we get in the room, and all he wants to do is go to the gym, work out. So we get in the room, and he's going, "Come on, Beep, hurry up, man. We got to get to the gym." I said, "Paul, man, my head hurts. My knee hurts. My head hurts now." Everything's funny. So I said, "Okay." Now he's going, "Come on, get dressed." And I said, "Okay, I'll get dressed." So Paul says, "I'm going to get dressed too, and put my shorts on. We're out of here in 10 minutes. Better be ready." So I see him next to the wall, and he's pulling his jeans off because he was so lazy in a way, or trying to be so efficient. He would wear no underwear under his jeans, just jeans. just the truth. And we're both heterosexual. But anyway, not that it matters. We have some gay friends. We both love Pat Patterson. He's bouncing up and down against the wall, trying to pull he was too lazy to pull his tennis shoes off, so he's trying to take his jeans over his tennis shoes. And so as he's jumping up and down, trying to pull the jean off of it over his tennis shoes, he's got his hand against the wall, and my head's still spinning, but I look and I see a Days In yellow number 2 pencil with the eraser right there. So I licked that pencil, and I'm kind of getting the good aim as he's jumping up and down, being Oscar the Grouch. Got that good aim, and boom, all of a sudden he stands up, and as he did, that pencil went right up his rectum. Ah! He starts screaming. He goes, "I'm going to kill you. God damn it, what you do to me? Oh my gosh." And he's holding his butt, and he's jumping up and down, and he's trying to grab the pencil, and he can't get the pencil. He goes, "Nah, I'm going to kill you." So he starts waddling to me because his pants are caught at his legs. So he's waddling to me, and I didn't want any part of Paul at the time. He was so mad. So I run out the door, and as he starts to chase me, and as he does, he goes out the door, and the door slams behind him, and he's got a pencil up his butt, and his pants are at his ankles, and he can't catch me, no way. And he, all of a sudden, the door's shut. He's going, doesn't know what to do, so he turns around to get back into the room, and there's this maid with the cart right there, and she looks, and I'm telling you, this woman, I swear, she was just like one of the most. She could have been an actress with the look on her face, and she put her hand over her. I don't know exactly what she said, but it was like, "I can't believe I'm seeing this. I can't believe I'm seeing this." And she didn't know what to do. And Paul's saying, open my door. And she's going, "I can't believe I'm seeing this." And so they argued, and I left. And I don't know how he got into the room to this day, but he was mad at me for a week after that. I don't know how'd you get that pencil out of your butt?
I don't know. It was real though. It happened.
Some ribs that we pulled were just phenomenal on each other. I mean, I remember in Japan. Japan was famous for ribs. They we drank. There was beer on the bus all the time, and our bus driver Akasaka from New Japan Pro Wrestling. He had these things called 2-and-alls, and so the referee Masao Hattori.
In trouble.
You remember? You're not getting in trouble. You remember Masao Hattori? That was the referee in Japan. Our friend. He's still alive. Still a good guy. Anyway, he got Masao with a couple 2-and-alls in his beer, and we saw Masao doing this, and everybody thought that was funny. He was just going up and down the bus, like every time, like he was falling down. Whenever Akasaka would slow down, he'd go toward the front. Whenever he'd speed up, he'd go toward the back, and he was just totally messed up. And so Paul decides to do this to me, and all of a sudden I'm feeling really weird. And we're in this little town where they make these wooden dolls, and we stayed in these rooms, and they put Paul and I in the same room, and they had these beds that had what's called, I think they're called, not yucatas, but they're flat little mats, and you're on a hardwood thing. That's your mattress, and there's about 20 of them in the room. And I just remembered laying down, and all of a sudden I woke up, and I was drugged, and he drugged me. And when I woke up, I was like in a tunnel. I was in something I remember I just didn't know where I was, and I was fighting to get out as hard as I could. And he had stacked up 20, 25, as many mattresses of those little mattresses there were. He stacked them all up on top of me, and it crushed it between the top bed. So I'm down here, and all the mattresses are forcing me down where I can't move now. I'm trying to move and get out, and I'm screaming, help me, so loud. And in Japan, I don't know what's happening because I'm drugged, and I'm stuck between two beds with all these mattresses on top of me. I can barely breathe. Oh God, you were brutal.
You're lucky you didn't die, actually.
I know, it's crazy.
We had a good time.
I guess. We had a great time.
We did.
And I still love you always.
What's your favorite match that you guys were involved with together, Brian?
St. Louis Kiel Auditorium. We've had a few there. But the one where Vince McMahon was announcing, Vince McMahon Jr. A lot of people don't know Vince McMahon Sr. gave me, when I went for senior and Paul was there, before WWE became WrestleMania. Before WrestleMania. And Vince McMahon is the one that gave me the B for B. Brian Blair. He's the one that told me to be B. Brian Blair. He said, it was a good conversation on the phone, but he said, okay, I want you to be B. Brian Blair. Because that's what my siblings called me, that's what my friends call me, B. So thank you, Vince McMahon Sr. for naming me B. Brian Blair. But we had some great times together. Oh, yeah. And, it was always, we actually ate at the very, very first Chick-fil-A in Hapeville, Georgia. Paul went there one time, and he goes, Brian, I found this great place, got to go there and eat. And we did, and so we stayed at a place called Mrs. T's, the Falcon's Rest. Devin's probably got 100 stories on the Falcon's Rest. Miss T, you remember that place, Miss T, the green building, all the boys stayed there, you stayed there. It was in Atlanta before you lived in Atlanta. It was in Hapeville, and that's where you found the Chick-fil-A, the first Chick-fil-A, which became such a big success now.
The Nasty Boys have a lot of stories from that place too.
Oh gosh, let me tell you, the Falcon's Rest is famous for stories. I've got some with them I put in the book that I'm writing with David San Martino. Are just crazy, just absolutely off the chain, hilarious, funny, but I got to save some of the stuff. But if I told you all the ribs that we have pulled on each other, it would take more time than we have right now.
Well,
I promise, because it's numerous, and sometimes you don't even think of them. There's so many. I remember when Elvis Presley died. We were driving in my blue Continental, my 72 powder blue Lincoln Continental that I had since high school. We were driving somewhere in Tennessee, and you always had that big seat back, and you were snoring like, I hear Elvis died. And I told you, hey, Elvis died. God, I can't believe this. And you said, no kidding, oh my gosh. And you were all freaked out, and all of a sudden, back to sleep. So I was upset that Elvis died. I'm thinking, why is he sleeping? And I look at my carpet, and there's pebbles, so I keep putting pebbles in his mouth. And the pebbles are going in his mouth, and he's going, and I'm trying to wake him up because I want him to grieve with me over Elvis. And we're driving because that's what life on the road, you're just driving and you get to sleep when you can sleep and whatever, but I didn't want him to sleep, so I'm putting pebbles. Finally, I forget what happened, but somehow something happened, and I wind up slamming my brakes on the interstate, and we all almost had a terrible, terrible accident. There was a semi next to us. It was just bad. It was just adventures on the road, and
whatever you could do to get a laugh, or it didn't matter what it was. If you put Vaseline on the door handle, you put Vaseline on it's such a little thing, but when you're on the road, it's so funny when you're watching them, you're actually watching them and they're going to get in their room, and they put the room key or the key or whatever they're turning, they go to turn, and they can't turn the handle because you got Vaseline all over the handle. Those kind of things, just hilarious things. I speaking of Vaseline, I remember when you told me that Pat Patterson, you and Pat were at the same hotel, and you had rode together, and you were so serious when you said you woke up and you had to use the restroom or whatever, and something felt a little greasy or whatever. You said, Paul, Beep, you don't think he would really do that, do you? I said, well, Paul, I don't think he would, but he might. You think it? I said, I don't know. So, we just, we kept the Inquisition up for quite a while, and the back and forth. It was just those kind of things that made us close on the road and comfortable to be around each other, comfortable to be ourselves, just being like brothers, two boys that do everything. And I mean, that's really what we were like, was boys, that never grew up. And now that I'm older, I run construction and Cauliflower Alley, and I do Legends, so many different things, and you got to constantly think, being a politician, doing all these things, you think, wow, what made your mind think of those things? How did you actually, come up with that stuff? And the other people that did their ribs, their creative ribs, from Kurt Hennig to, to all the guys, the Bulldogs, to Fuji, all the Rivers, you think about all the things they did, but it was all fun. And fortunately, Paul and I were together through so much of that. It was actually amazing. And to have grown up watching Paul as one of my heroes when he was number 40 for the University of Tampa, the fullback, stud fullback. I mean, Division II champions 2 out of 4 years. Played with, he knocked John Matuzak out with one punch. And Sammy Gellerstedt and Freddie Solomon both told me that on a basketball game that they were playing at the University of Tampa, when Matuzak hit Gellerstedt with the elbow, and you love Sammy. And, I just remember Freddie said, you hit him so hard with that left one punch. There's a 6'7" guy, I can just imagine. Freddie's telling me he was just down, going out for the count. And
we had fun. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, so anyway.
And to wrap this up, he's in 3 Hall of Fames, and he received the Cauliflower Alley Club Award a few years ago.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us about that award that he received, since you're the president, of course, of the CIC?
Yeah, Luthez Award is one of our most coveted awards. Luthez, everybody knows, he's an icon in the wrestling industry. You can't even talk about wrestling and pretend like you know something without knowing Luthez. And so Luthez was the president of the Cauliflower Alley Club as well, and that and the Iron Mike Mazurki Award are our 2 highest awards. So Paul was not only a Luthez winner, and we don't have any jabronis. They're voted by our members. Whoever gets the most votes, I call, and we see. It's not just that I pick somebody out of a hat. A lot of people think that's not like that. Members vote, and they give us our ideas, and so you're really picked by the fans. And so to be in 3 Hall of Fames, the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in Iowa, one of the most difficult to get in, more difficult than the WWE, to be in the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, win the WWE, and to be in a CAC Luthez winner. It's incredible. It speaks volumes. I mean, he's a Florida State Hall of Fame, a Florida Hall of Fame, the Florida State Hall of Fame. You're in that. I don't know what Hall of Fame you're not in.
Not from wrestling. He's in everywhere.
From wrestling related Hall of Fames, I don't know which one Paul Orndorff isn't in. But if he's not, he should be.
And the CAC 2020, this is going to be out this year, so what are the dates for that, for anyone that wants to come and watch the inductions? You can watch this year's on the Hannibal TV, by the way.
Yeah, that's great, and please watch it. We appreciate Hannibal TV, the Cauliflower Alley Club does for all they do to support the CAC. And we're back in April. I believe it's April 22nd. Just go to our website at caulifloweralleyclub.org. Cauliflower Alley Club, like the cauliflower ear, alley with 2 L's, ALLEY club.org. And you can see everything from the dates. You'll see everything but the lineup for the 2020 55th anniversary. It's going to be huge. There's a guy that does commercials, car commercials in Tampa, and everything's huge. So this year, the Cauliflower Alley Club is going to be huge. Don't miss it.
Who's going to be there?
I can't tell you, kayfabe.
Oh.
When you guys were having your shoots in Florida, what was he just technically good, or was he just more forceful when you guys were?
When we were shooting with Matsuda?
Yeah.
I couldn't. Paul was so strong that I couldn't stretch him. One of the few people that I couldn't stretch of all the people that came in there.
Could Jack Briscoe stretch him?
Pardon me?
Could Jack Briscoe stretch him?
I don't know. In his prime, he could, no doubt. But Jack had been working quite a while. He was in his 30s then, in his late 30s, so probably not. Paul was that strong. He was just that strong. I mean, no matter if you tried to ankle pick him. I mean, the only person that could really stretch Paul was our teacher, Hero. That's it, nobody.
And Paul, do you want to say anything to the fans to close this off? You've given us a good chunk of your time here today. I know you're really busy.
The fans?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll tell you what, we had one of the largest crowds ever in wrestling, and the fans were there. When I was the bad guy, they hated me, and I took a heart towards them that, hey, they're making me some money, and thank you. Whether you like me or not, thank you. They were good. We had some good fans.
Great
at
fans.
the time. Huh?
Always great fans.
Great fans, exactly.
And that's what makes it.
That's exactly what makes it.
Yeah.
And is there anywhere where fans can write you, or do they have to come out to these autograph appearances if they want to get your autograph, basically?
You're not going to get a response if you write them. So
okay.
Yeah, because if you don't, it'd be bad. It ain't no fun.
Don't send Paul anything if you want to return.
But if they want an autograph and ask for it, I'll give it to him.
Yeah, he'll.
Anything else you want to say to close this off, Paul?
Yeah, thank you for doing this. We appreciate you here doing this. Believe it or not, it's good. It's very good. And I thank you for doing this too with us. Having Brian with me and myself, and it's to me, it's like this attitude that we had in wrestling and everything. Now you really know. You got an idea of it. And we had it. Real bad. And we're glad you had us here. And we thank you very much.
Yeah, I'd like to thank them, especially for when he's been through cancer. Stage 4 lymph node. Most people don't live. He's alive here right now to be able to talk to you fans.
For real.
Right now about it. I remember when his throat was so closed and he didn't know whether he was going to live or die, and it was tearing me up, and of course, obviously his family. But
thank God for that.
Yes, and amen. And Paul couldn't swallow hardly anything, and that's why he has a little rough time right now. But good doctors and the good Lord saved Paul, and he's with us right now when he probably shouldn't be.
They did.
He's just sucking through straws, just trying to drink a little protein. You did it all right, brother. You made it.
Yeah. The good Lord was on my side.
I knew if I was going to go in the ring with him, we were going to have a hell of a match. It was going to tear the house down, and it would be good for return the next week, and the next week, and the next. We wrestled together in tag team combinations in Japan.